creative friends, I'm Lisa, your go-to gal for all things watercolor painting and DIY crafting. And if you've been wanting to try watercolor but didn't know where to start, you're in the right place. In today's video, I'll show you the 5 must-have tools you need to start your watercolor journey. There's nothing fancy or expensive that's needed. You can purchase your supplies online, of course, and I'll have the links to everything that I shared today down below, or a local art store. We have a cool store called Dallas Art Supply, or Jerry's Artorama, or Blick's if you have one close to you. And you could check out Hobby Lobby and Michael's as an option, and they carry my favorite Daniel Smith watercolor paints. Walmart carries affordable supplies, and definitely don't sleep on Five Below or even Dollar Tree for that matter. So first up, let's talk about watercolor paint. There are so many options. Tubes and pan sets are the most common that you're going to see, and there are different grades of paint, from kid-friendly, similar to what you'll see at Dollar Tree, to student grade, such as this Winsor & Newton Cotman set, as well as professional grade like these Daniel Smith watercolor tube paints. That's a lot to think about and sort through, so let me help you out. I love to use these Daniel Smith watercolor paint in tubes. It's a professional grade paint, and you just squeeze the paint out and you put it into these little paint pans, and then you can use it as a palette just like these other palettes here. But they can get expensive, especially if you're just starting out. So I recommend a budget-friendly pan set, such as this My Leon pan set. You can get this on Amazon for about $21. These Grabie paint sets are cute too. That's a pocket set. You can get that for about 10 bucks. This Cotman is a student grade set, and it's what they call a limited palette, so it has a warm and cool color of the basic primary colors, plus it has some earth tones down here. That's about $25 in Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And Andrea Nelson is someone who I just adore. I follow her on all her social medias, and she sells paint as well, and so I have her palette, and that's actually one of the first ones that I ever purchased. But we can dive deeper in a later video on the differences between all the paint options, but if all you have is this little set from Dollar Tree, then use that. Next is watercolor paper, which is arguably the most important supply for watercolor painting. You can find a 117-pound Canson paper at Walmart for about $6, and I do use this often. But you can also find this 140-pound paper. 30 sheets will run you about $8.50. And you can find a 140-pound paper at Five Below for around $5 for 36 sheets. And you can go all out and buy the fancy Arches paper, and you get 20 sheets for $91. Yeah, you heard that right. I often say use what you have, but when it comes to paper, it does have to be a special kind. Will this regular printer paper work? Nope. What you need is thicker textured watercolor paper. And I prefer this 140-pound 300 GSM cold press watercolor paper because it absorbs water properly and prevents warping. But I also have this Canson paper, and I use this quite often too, and this is 117-pound. It's also cold pressed, but it's not quite as thick as the other paper. I also like to use a sketchbook, and it's important to try and find the right paper for this as well. While I would say that watercolor paper is important in this process, I would also say use what you have. Watercolor brushes. There are so many options, it might be hard to know where to start and which one to use. For beginners, I encourage you to just start off with just one brush. And this, I know it's tempting to get all the different kinds and shapes and sizes, but working with just one brush really will help you get to know your brush. How it works, how thirsty it is, how springy it is. Things that are important as you learn techniques. I do recommend a round brush because you can make lots of different brush strokes with it, and I mostly use a size 8 and sometimes I use a size 6 because I do paint tiny. And I purchased these from adreamordayart.com, which is Andrea Nelson's site. I'll have them linked below. There was an episode on Law & Order Criminal Intent where Bobby Gorn is being held, and he's like on an embalming table or something, and he says, "I keep asking for water," which is what my mind thought of when I came to this next tool that you're gonna need, and that is water. I recommend 2 cups of water, one for rinsing your brush and one for clean water. And I do use smaller jars to hold my water, so yes, I do have to change it more often. Some people use a jar for rinsing cool colors and another one for rinsing warm colors, and some people just use one jar, but we can get into all the details of that later. But for this video, we're going to keep it simple, and we're going to use 2 cups of water. And last but certainly not least, you're going to need some sort of paper towel or a rag. I normally have my water set up just like this, and when I dip into this one, kind of rinse it off, and then I dip into the clean water just to make sure it's clean. And I always kind of twirl my brush so that the bristles come back to a point. We're going to pull this all together and create a simple monochromatic landscape using just the essential tools I talked about earlier. Nothing fancy, just water, watercolor paint, one trusty brush, a rag, and watercolor paper, and that's it. And I want to show you how even the most basic supplies can bring something beautiful to life. I did speed this up just a little bit, but I will be posting longer, slower tutorials to help you follow along with me better. And we're going to start off with a light wash of color, so pick any color that makes your heart happy, add that to your mixing well, and add a good amount of water. Now the key to this type of painting is letting each layer dry completely before starting the next. And if you're impatient like me, then you can make it dry with a heat tool or a hair dryer. Add a little bit of paint to your puddle to darken it up, and now we're going to create our first line of mountains. And you're going to repeat this for each layer as you see me doing here. And remember, this doesn't have to be perfect because watercolor loves to do its own thing, and we're here for it. And because we're only using one color, we're playing with depth through layers and values, light to dark. So repeat the layers until you're happy with it, adding more paint to your puddle each time. And you'll see how that simple shift in color makes everything feel more dimensional. And I've got another video coming up soon about the additional tools that I use, such as the board I'm painting on, the tape I use, and stuff like that. And I also want to show y'all a little bit more about different brushes, paints, paper, and all of that. So let me know what other videos you might want to see as well. Now, I do love a good tape pull, and this one does not disappoint. When you take a step back, look at that. From a single color and a few simple tools, you've created a peaceful little scene. So if you've been waiting to dive into watercolor to have all the things, this is your sign. You already have enough to make something beautiful. Thanks so much for hanging out in my creative space with me. If you're as obsessed with watercolor painting and DIY crafting as I am, hit that subscribe button, wherever it is. Hit the subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you never miss a new video. Check out my other videos for step-by-step tutorials and watercolor tips, or binge watch my watercolor playlist for more inspiration. I hope you come back so we can chat some more, and don't forget, you can follow me in all the places. Just search for Our Gray House, but just don't follow me in real life though, because that's creepy. Bye!